What's happening, gamers? Welcome to the triple threat match featuring three of my favorite portable gaming screens. The GAEMS Guardian, the GAEMS Sentinel, and the GAEMS Vanguard. They're going to battle it out for supremacy. I'm going to give you prices, I'm going to give you specs, and I'm going to give you footage to let you make a decision to see which one is best for you, your budget, and your gaming habits. Stick around. Let's take a look. All right, ladies and gents, we're going to start off by giving you a quick overview of the specs, starting with the Vanguard, the one that swept me off my feet, made me fall in love with these cases in the first place. The Vanguard is a 19-inch 720p LED screen. Resolution is 1366 by 768. It does upscale to 1080, but natively it is a 720p screen. It has dual headphone jacks and dual speakers. It holds the modern and last gen consoles, and the dimensions are 19.75 by 7 by 16.75, and it weighs around 10 pounds. What do I love about the Vanguard? The Vanguard to me is the entry-level system that I absolutely loved, and I've never got sick of using it, and I still use it occasionally. This right here is perfect because it's 19 inches, but it's nice and it's compact and it does not weigh a ton. The pouches that you have for your controllers and your cables fit inside, which I think is a really nice touch. Having the pouches that go inside of the GAEMS Vanguard make it really nice for traveling and for carrying it around and making sure you're not forgetting something behind. That is one of my favorite things about it. The 720p screen, to me, even though it's not the best, it doesn't make a big difference when you're not comparing it to other screens. If you're not playing on a 4K screen next to you, I've never really had a bad gaming experience on the Vanguard, and I can't say right now that when I switch from one to the other, I notice a huge difference. There's always a difference, but it's subtle and it doesn't really change the gameplay experience for me. So I love the simplicity of the Vanguard, and at the price point of $300, this is definitely the best price if you're going to get into one of these. You can find it on sale quite a bit at like $250 right now. So between $250 and $300, this is the best priced one of the three. Now moving on to the Sentinel. The Sentinel is a 17.3-inch 1080p IPS display. Now the Sentinel is native 1080p, so you're getting out of that 720 range, 5 millisecond response time, 60 hertz. It has two speakers, much like the Vanguard, and it has a dual 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So besides the screen, it's very similar in the setup. It holds all the modern and last gen systems, but it is quite a bit smaller. The sleekness of the Sentinel is really a huge selling point for this one. The Sentinel itself is 16.89 by 402 by 15.98 inches, and it weighs a little over 8 pounds. Now, what do I love about the Sentinel? Well, first off, just holding it, you can see the difference right here between the two. It's just a lot smaller, a lot thinner, and frankly, it's a lot easier to travel with. The 1080p screen, I believe, does look better and crisper than the Vanguard, but you are sacrificing a little bit of size on that. 17 inches to 19 inches, it's only a couple, but it does make a difference. So it is a little bit smaller, it is a little bit less of screen, but it is higher quality. The one thing that I dislike about the Sentinel is you do not get to put the bags inside of the unit. You need to have a backpack or you need to carry the bag separately. The bag is large enough to hold more stuff, but I hate that I have to remember an additional piece when I'm packing up my case and my screen. I gotta put the controller, I gotta put the cords in this bag, and if you leave the bag at home, then you're pretty much making this obsolete. Whereas the Vanguard, and going on the Guardian next, you actually put the bag inside, so when you grab this case, you are gone. You can't forget anything for the most part. With the Sentinel, I've caught myself having to run back and grab the bag before I've left the house, so that could be an issue if you end up going on a trip and disappearing somewhere. Moving on to the GAEMS Guardian Pro XP, one of my favorite gaming possessions, and here's why. It's a 1440p 24-inch IPS display, 9 millisecond response time, 60 hertz refresh rate. It has HDMI in, which is what you'd expect, but it also has HDMI out. So streamers can actually have an output device going to a second screen if they have people watching, or they just want to output it for stream quality. They have dual 9-watt stereo speakers, which are quite loud, a 12-volt power amp. It has a 2-time subwoofer, and it has dual headphone jacks. So you can tell just the speakers alone on this are quite a bit more powerful. It holds all the modern and last gen consoles, as well as a small ATX computer. This does have a bag, like I said, that can go inside, which is nice. So it's a fleece bag that you can put inside to carry all your stuff. It also has a Picatinny rail system on the top to mount cameras and lights. This is a streamer's dream and definitely one of the best you can buy. Now here are the specs on the size. This is where it makes a huge difference. 19.69 by 16.69 by 701, and it weighs about 35 pounds. This thing is hefty. It is not the lightest system in the world, but it is awesome. So what do I love about the GAEMS Guardian? Well, where do I start? This is the creme de la creme. This thing is incredible. The 24-inch screen, 1440p, even though the PS4 does not output in 1440p, it still looks amazing. I love you can put your streaming stuff, your lights, your cameras on top if you want to, and I love that it has the USB ports in the front, the larger screen, and all around this is just the Cadillac of portable gaming screens. What do I dislike about it? Well, frankly, the size makes it quite difficult if you are trying to take this on a trip in an airplane. This is not the best for carrying on. Now, when you go on a road trip to someone's house, this is the way to go. But for an airplane, you might want to pick up one of the smaller ones, the Sentinel or the Vanguard. But overall, it's still perfect. You can still carry this on, and it's one of the best ways to play gaming on the go. Now, here is one thing I'm going to say about all three. Next gen comes out. How are these going to hold up? I can't tell you. The screens work, they're HDMI in, but will they actually fit within the case itself? It's not looking like it, but I'm not going to say yes or no because we don't have the specs, at least for the PS5 yet. The Xbox Series X looks like it's going to be a no, but you never know. So now let's get into some real world looks at these three in action so that you can actually see what they look like on and side by side. So as you would expect, you can see the Sentinel is by far the sleekest of the three when you see them laid down on a table. The Guardian is actually quite a bit thinner than the Vanguard, but in terms of just overall size, the Vanguard is kind of in the middle. The Sentinel is definitely the smallest, and the Guardian takes up a lot of space. Now, like I said, the Guardian actually has an HDMI out. So we're gonna hook all three of these up on one PlayStation with the same feed. That way you're getting a true test on what all three screens look like on at the same exact time. So right here we're getting into some actual gameplay of Ghosts of Tsushima. Got IGN hooking up with some gameplay here, and as you can see right away, the Guardian just is the largest of the three. There's a huge discrepancy in screen size. The Vanguard on the right side and the Sentinel on the left really look similar. If you put them side by side, the Vanguard is a little bit bigger, but not a huge difference, a couple inches. What you'll notice right away, and I don't know if you can see it on screen, is that the Guardian is just more robust, a deeper picture. It may not show it right away. And then even right there, the black levels, the Guardian just has a better level when it's black. They're not green, they're not gray, as opposed to the Sentinel and the Vanguard are a little bit more gray or kind of a greenish tint to them. Even at 720p, upscale to 1080, the Vanguard looks really good. And any of these screens, like I said, will get the job done and will not hinder your gameplay experience. But the Guardian is by far the best of the three. But for around $700, you're getting what you pay for, and that's a lot. For half the price, you can get this Sentinel here, which will get close to the Sentinel, so you can get a little bit closer. And you can see the viewing angles are actually really good. I am on the side, and there's the Vanguard at a pretty good angle, and you can still see it. But see how the grays and the greens right there, a little bit more green than the Guardian? That's just one thing that was really noticeable. The colors are more true on the Guardian than the Vanguard and the Sentinel. Let's go over here and get you some angles on this side so you can see some true viewing angles. So the Sentinel, again, you can see it's a little bit darker in these darker areas, these cutscenes. Now the angle is part of it because when you come from a side angle, it's not the best. So let's go back straight on here and give you an idea of what to expect. So again, as you can see, the right screen, the left screen, a little bit more gray on these dark areas, and the Guardian's a little bit more dark, more black, like what you'd want, a little bit more of a true picture. So that's kind of one of the biggest things. Let's switch over to some other gameplay. I always love this 4K footage of Costa Rica because it gives you such vibrant colors, and it really helps you when you're looking at screens kind of differentiate what looks good, what looks a little rough. Again, this is 4K footage, but it's being brought in, again, in 1080 to all three of these screens from the same PlayStation. Once again, the Guardian is king here. The greens are more green, the dark colors blend a lot better, everything just looks more robust and pops. But again, these other screens are really good. I love this frog, the red eyes, just such high quality visuals, and I hope they come across really well on the actual camera itself. So as you can see, just really, the Guardian just really clear. I mean, you can see the rocks, you can see the sand. It just looks quite a bit better. The lights, again, even the light coming through just looks more crisp. So this kind of gives you an idea of the oceans, the sand, the earth in general in high quality 4K being downscaled to 1080, but it does give you an idea of what these screens look like. And again, all three of them get the job done. Now let's hear some sound samples real quick. I'll pop a sound in from each one and we'll just see what it sounds like. All right, we got some no copyright music here. This is Not For Nothing by Otis McDonald. Now this is the Vanguard. We have the volume cranked up here to 40, and I'm gonna stand right behind the camera so you'll hear it from about 3 feet out. This is what the Vanguard sounds like right now. Decent bass, not a lot of bass, but a little bass. Okay, we're going to switch over to the Sentinel now. Again, volume's at 40, about 3 feet away. Let's see how it sounds coming through the mic. Okay, can you tell there's a little bit more bass. So a little bit more bass, sounds a little bit crisper, but not a lot, not a huge difference. Not a massive difference, but definitely a little more bass in there, a little more pop. You can see they use some upgraded speakers for this, but like I said, not huge. For a portable gaming screen, it definitely is serviceable, but it's not gonna blow your eardrums out. But now I'm curious to hear the Guardian because this has built-in subwoofers and it has an amp going to the speaker. So let's put this at 40 and let's hear what the Guardian sounds like. Okay, instantaneous bass. Let's crank this thing up a little more. Back to the Sentinel. And now back to the Guardian. Or I'm sorry, the Vanguard. We'll crank it up. All right, so there you have it. The sound test, that's coming through my lapel mic, so that's gonna be kind of a little bit harder to hear. But again, the Guardian at 40 was a little bit quieter than the other two, but it was a little bit deeper, a little bit crisper sound. None of them sounded tinny though, and the Guardian's ceiling was a lot higher. I cranked that thing up and the bass really came through. But again, you're paying for that extra piece, which you'd expect. So it's nice to see that when you pay for something like that, you're actually getting a better quality screen and sound. The Sentinel and the Vanguard, it is really a toss-up at the end of the day. The Guardian is the clear winner as expected, but it's also twice as much as these other units. What are you willing to pay for these? For me, I obviously was willing to pay a lot because I've got all three, although there'll be one less here by the time this video drops because the Vanguard's going to find a new home. But with that, the Vanguard is a great system and a great case to hold your system and a great screen to game on, even right now in 2020. The Sentinel is a better screen overall. The sound is about the same. I don't love the pouch, but I love the ease of carrying it around. And lastly, the Guardian. it is the best one. It is the creme de la creme. It is what I love, and I think that it's easily the best of the three. But again, this was just a comparison to give you an idea of what to expect when you get these. So gamers, with that being said, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with me. A little bit longer video. And if you want to see these all in depth, I've done a review on each one individually. Keep trolling, keep rolling. We'll see you next time.